Hello!
And welcome
to Nightmare Nation!
A podcast where we talk about haunted places around the world.
And scary things!
And the histories of the haunted places.
And UFOs!
And ghosts and demons.
And Ouija boards!
Yep.
And all things scary and terrifying we're here to scare your pants off.
Yeah, we are.
So you better wear a diaper.
Strap them on, tighten that belt.
Because you're in for a ride tonight.
Get those little suspender things.
Yep.
Clip them on to your shoulders.
Clip them onto your diaper.
So you don't lose them. Because they're going to go flying off.
Gonna soil them so much, they're just going to start drooping down.
Oh, God. See, that's the... See, that's the other part of our podcast. In the first part, we scare your pants off, and then when you put them on, then you poop your pants from laughing so hard.
Exactly.
Because we are masters of comedy and paranormal things.
We bring comedic relief to the scary things that we tell you.
Paranomedy.
Oh,
it's a new genre.
That thing.
that thing you just said. I like
that
it.
That thing is so good.
Thank you.
We should submit it to Webster's Dictionary.
Yes. I'm very creative. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
Mashing our words together.
Smish mash.
That's also what we're really good at.
We do that a lot.
Annie mashed eyeballs and ears today. And
no, eyeballs and ear holes.
Ear holes,
yep.
And we have ear balls now.
It sounds real good in my ear balls. Which kind of conjures up some gross mental images, and I really don't want to think about that anymore.
Nope. All right. So
tonight, friends.
Ooh, we are taking you somewhere real scary.
We're going back into that delicious sweet spot of blending paranormal and true crime, which was so much fun to talk about with the exorcism of, oh my God, I almost said Emily Rose, of Annalise Mikel.
And the Velasca house.
And the Velasca house, of course. Our favorite. This one actually has some similarities a little bit in the fact that there was some axe murders involved.
Axing.
And it was kind of an unsolved TBD.
Unsolved. We don't know. To be determined. Never.
Never. We'll never know, you guys. We'll never figure it out.
It's a conspiracy.
Yes. Like everything else. It's all a conspiracy.
Everything.
So we're talking about...
the Lizzie Borden house.
Which has a charming rhyme that goes along with it. Or it's like a song, right? Like Lizzie Borden had an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks.
Yeah, that's
when
a thing.
She saw when she had done, she gave her father 41. Yeah.
Where's that from?
It's like a children's rhyme or something, or like a song.
I feel like it's in a movie.
Probably in one of the many movies that have been made about Lizzie Borden.
Probably.
There's a couple.
But yeah, that sounds completely correct.
Yeah, and it's terrifying and gross.
But it's so fascinating.
It is fascinating.
It's one of one of the stories that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And again, I think part of why I really love it so much is because it's a little bit of that kind of like crime scene, police work, true crime element, which I'm personally obsessed with. And when that kind of crosses over into like a ghost haunted stuff, it's like the best. It's my happy place. That's how. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the house and the family, and then a little bit about the investigation and the trial as well, because personally I find that fascinating.
I do too.
Great.
So you guys better as well.
Hold on to your adult diaper pants.
Hold on to them.
Get
them suspenders.
Get them ready. Go buy some right now, real quick, if you can. Okay, so
all right.
The house itself that the family grew up in and lived in and where the murders took place is located on 232nd Street in the city of Fall River, Massachusetts.
Ooh, we're going back to Massachusetts.
Yeah, we are. Where else did we do?
Salem.
Salem. Was it also the Sterling Opera House? Was that also?
No, that was Connecticut.
Yeah, it was Connecticut. Scrap that. Yes, Salem. Fantastic city. Want to go there. So, interesting fact that apparently the address used to be 92 2nd Street, but they actually changed the house number to 230 2nd Street in 1896, which was very shortly after the murders and trials happened. So I wonder if they changed the house number to potentially get rid of some of the notoriety involved, or I don't actually know. I mean,
you're still going to know the house whether you change the number or not.
Yeah, I don't really know.
That's odd.
I feel like I didn't even know that was a thing, that you can just change house numbers.
Conspiracy.
So from 1874 to 1892, the house was the property of Andrew Borden, his wife Sarah Anthony Morse, and their daughters Lizzie and Emma. So they had another sister named Alice, but she died at age 2 in 1858. So it was just the four of them actually living in the house. So Andrew was a successful businessman in town. He found financial success in the manufacture and sale of furniture and caskets.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
I feel like the person who builds caskets is right up there in fascination level with the person who like runs the morgue and like mortuary and does the embalming. And it's just so...
Mortuaries are just so
man.
interesting. Did you know that in order to keep their eyeballs closed, they put in contacts that have little like claws or like hooks on them to pull down and to keep your eyes closed.
Why would they like fling back open otherwise?
Yeah.
Oh
if
my
you die
God.
with your eyes open, they don't stay shut.
Rigor mortis is a bitch. Oh my God, I had that's so terrifying. You think they could just put little contacts with like super glue on them or something?
Nope.
Do they need little claws?
They got little claws.
Oh my God, where did you learn that?
Ben told me about it. I was like, I don't think so. And then he showed me. I was like, oh, that's so disgusting.
That's so morbidly fascinating. I love it so much. Have you seen the show 6 Feet Under?
No.
Have you seen Dexter? Do you like Dexter?
I started watching the first season and then I just couldn't get into it.
It gets better, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's this weird kind of like dark comedy sort of like kind of like police investigation CIS type show, but with some like weird dark humor. And I personally really liked it. But
I think I maybe just have to get past the first season.
It does build. It's like any show where like you start to get more attached to the characters and it gets more interesting as it goes on. But the main guy, Michael C. Hall, also stars in a show called 6 Feet Under, and I think it's a BBC show. Or no, it was on HBO. That's what it was. It was on HBO, and he is the son of a like guy who owns a mortuary, and he inherits the family business, and it's all about him and like his siblings trying to figure out like taking over this family mortuary business.
That'd be so weird.
I've only seen a few episodes, but I really want to watch it because I really like Michael C. Hall, and I'm fascinated by all of that. So.
I am too. So weird.
Yeah. I don't even remember what we were talking about now, but I'm going to circle back.
All right. Sounds good.
I literally don't even know how we got off on that tangent. Okay. Because Andrew made caskets, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, and then we started talking about...
Oh, yeah. So Andrew made caskets, made a butt ton of money, and went on to become a successful property developer. So he owned a considerable amount of commercial property in the area and was both president of the Union Savings Bank and a director of the Durfee Safe Deposit and Trust Co.
Well, he is just... He's a jack of all trades.
Very successful.
Hot damn.
Probably smart. Apparently not very well liked, but very rich.
Well, yeah, because he's doing everything that he wants to.
He's everything and their mother at the same time. So at the time of his death in 1892, his estate was worth $300,000 at the time, which would have been $8.5 million last year. So he made a good living for himself.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting is despite being pretty wealthy, the family actually lived very frugal and modest lives. So, for example, their home in Fall River had no indoor plumbing or electricity, even though that would have been really common for any family like who had any sort of means at the time. So most other families that were even close to as rich as them would have had it. And they also lived in like the neighborhood that wasn't the fashionable and up and coming neighborhood. He had other people like in the social circle that lived in this fancy, well-to-do area, and they lived in more of like a modest neighborhood. So they didn't live beyond their means. They lived very humble lives kind of relative to how much money they had. So Lizzie and Emma, the two daughters, grew up in the house and had a relatively religious upbringing and regularly attended church in town. As a young woman, Lizzie was very involved in church activities, including teaching Sunday school to children of immigrants and being involved in the Christian Endeavor Society, which I looked up, and it's essentially this like Christian group that is dedicated to helping each other live more Christian lives. So it's interesting because, again, I feel like in a lot of these cases where these bad things happen, it's always happening to people who like have religious and like Christian upbringings, and like you wouldn't necessarily imagine someone who like teaches Sunday school to immigrant children to be a murderer.
Ex their parents.
But I think she was. I'll get into that later. So, spoilers. There's some murders.
Conspiracies.
So Lizzie's mother, Sarah, died of, quote, uterine congestion, which I looked up, and apparently it's known today, like in more modern times, as pelvic congestion syndrome, where the varicose veins in your pelvic area become swollen, twisted, and lengthened as a result of poor vein function.
Oh, God, that sounds awful.
Really freaking painful.
Oh, my gosh.
And she also had spinal disease. So that's a bad combo. She died in March of 1863. So 3 years later, Andrew married a woman named Abby Durfee Gray. Oh my God, I literally just made the connection that he was part of the Durfee Safe Deposit and Trust Co. And he married Abby Durfee Gray. Oh my God, it literally just clicked as I'm reading it out loud.
Derpy.
Derpy Durfees.
Derpy Durfees.
Oh my God. So he marries Abby, and Lizzie believed that she only married her father for his money rather than love, so she kind of, from the very beginning, had this very, like, tense relationship with Abby and was kind of antagonistic towards her from the beginning. So they had a maid named Bridget Sullivan who they called Maggie, who said that Emma and Lizzie never ate meals with their parents at all. So the two daughters were always like eating separately. It seemed like they didn't really get along with Abby. They didn't like their stepmother very much. So tension continued to grow when Andrew killed a bunch of pigeons that had been living in their barn in a roost that Lizzie had built for them. So she had noticed a bunch of pigeons that were hanging out there, and she kind of built a little home for them. And Andrew was convinced that they were attracting local children to the property because they liked to hunt them. And as a way of basically deterring the kids, he just murdered all the pigeons.
Good
Seems
Lord.
a little drastic, if you ask
excessive.
me.
Just like shoo them on their way and take the hut down.
I know. I feel like they didn't need to die.
No.
But this pissed off.
Save the pigeons.
Save the pigeons. So this pissed off Lizzie quite a bit because she built a little home for them, and I think he probably did it without asking her. So then there was a, quote, significant family argument in July of 1892. So some shit went down, big argument happens, and Emma and Lizzie actually left and took extended vacations in New Bedford, Massachusetts, just to kind of, assuming they wanted to get away for a little bit.
It's when they plotted the murder.
They plotted the murder. You know what's interesting? In the whole part with, like, the case and the trial, like, her sister never comes up. So I wonder where she was or what happened to her. I don't know.
Lizzie killed her.
And hid the body.
Yep.
Probably. Probs. So they come back from vacation, and Lizzie actually chose to stay in a local rooming house for 4 whole days before returning to the family home. She, like, wasn't ready to come back to be in the house yet. So presumably she was still angry about whatever went down before she left.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. So to further the tension, Andrew had been giving large gifts of real estate to various members of Abby's family. And there was, and honestly, I was too bored to, like, write it down because there was some long drama about he gave property to Abby's sister, and then Abby's sister got property from her father and bought it for $1, but then she sold it back to someone else for $5,000 and made a profit, and then someone else wanted property. I'm like, this is irrelevant, and I'm not interested in it. So I didn't write it down. But there was some weirdness with property being exchanged. And then Lizzie and Emma's uncle, it was the brother of their mother, Sarah, who had died. So not Abby's brother, but their actual blood mother's brother. Their blood mother's brother.
Blood mother's brother.
John Morse. So John Morse had come over to visit and was invited to stay to discuss business matters with Andrew, which has led some people who have gone back and, like, investigated to speculate that there may have been additional family property dealings or discussions that may have aggravated the already tense situation.
Uh-oh.
And the topping of the cake, for several days before the murders happened, everyone in the family was violently ill. So some thought it was food poisoning from, like, mutton that had been left out on the stove, but Abby was convinced that her family had been poisoned because Andrew was apparently not very well liked.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Whole town plotting against him.
Yep, they're all going down.
To kill him.
Okay, so the murders.
Ooh.
So the infamous murders that spurred the chillingly haunting child's song rhyme thing occurred on August 4th, 1892. So John Morse had arrived in the evening of August 3rd and had slept in the guest room that night. So he was there the night before discussing the business dealings with Andrew. After the whole family had breakfast together the next morning, Andrew and John went to the sitting room where they talked for almost an hour. John then left the house around 8:48 a.m. to buy a pair of oxen and visit his niece in Fall River, planning to return to the Borden home around lunch at noon. Andrew then left for his morning walk sometime after 9 a.m. So, quick caveat, this is where the timeline gets a little bit confusing, and I was trying to kind of piecemeal it together, but there's also conflicting accounts from Lizzie and other people involved who say that everyone was at a different place at a different time.
Oh,
so what actually happened is a little unclear, and I apologize if I goof up the details. Someone who's an expert on this can let me know, but it gets...
If you were part of the investigation...
130 years ago.
Let us know so we can get the proper details.
Maybe your great uncle was part of the police force that investigated the case.
Yes.
But even then the police couldn't get their story straight either.
Well,
so someone who's a psychic, make contact with Lizzie's spirit and tell us what happened. And let us know, please. Great, let's do that. Okay, so Andrew leaves the house around 9 a.m. John is gone. So the only people in the house then were Lizzie and Abby and their maid, Maggie. So Abby goes upstairs sometime between 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. to make the bed. And when she got there, evidence showed that she was facing her killer, and she was struck on the side of the head with a hatchet, which cut her just above the ear, causing her to turn and fall face down on the floor, which left contusions on her nose and forehead. So she basically gets whacked upside the head. Her killer then struck her multiple times, delivering 17 more direct hits to the back of her head, which obviously killed her. So not just like a... I killed you, now you're dead. Definitely not a one and done. It was a 18 and done. Oh. That's a lot.
Someone is real angry.
She's mad.
You gotta hack someone 18 times.
That's a lot of hacking.
Yes.
Yes. And like after she's already down on the back of the head, it's not like she was struggling. She was probably unconscious after the first blow, and you just decided to mutilate her corpse.
Perfect.
Yay. So, Andrew then gets back from his walk sometime around 10:30, and for some reason his key doesn't work, so he tries to get in the house. He ends up knocking on the door for someone to let him in. And That's weird. So Maggie, the maid, heard him knocking and went to unlock the door, but found it jammed. So, could totally be coincidence, but it seems all a little strange that
a little bit.
He's unable to get in the house shortly after his daughter theoretically murdered Abby, his wife. So, it's a bit strange. So Maggie lets him in. Maggie later testified that she heard Lizzie laughing immediately after she found the door to be jammed and couldn't open it. She didn't see her, but she stated that the laughter was coming from the top of the stairs. And this is kind of important because at this...
terrifying.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And the reason that's significant is because if Lizzie is truly innocent, like, so she's at the top of the stairs, and at that time, like, Abby would have already been dead based on her time of death, and her body would have been clearly visible to anyone on the home's second floor, aka Lizzie, would have seen her. So if she is truly innocent, why would she have been laughing her head off at the top of the stairs? Unless she just, like, went insane from seeing her stepmother's dead body and, like, lost her shit.
I mean, that could be, but...
which I could sort of see, but it also kind of directly conflicts with what Lizzie says happened. So anyway, it's creepy because she hears her, like, laughing maniacally from the top of the stairs. So what happened after immediately is not really clear. So Lizzie later denied being upstairs at all and testified that her father had asked her where Abby was, and Lizzie replied that a messenger had delivered Abby a summons to visit a sick friend. So she leaves to go visit a friend in town after getting a telegraph note, something or other. Mm-hmm. Lizzie claims then that her father laid down on the couch to take a nap, and then she apparently told Maggie about a department store sale and tried to convince her to go to it, because who doesn't love a great sale?
Oh, yeah?
Down at the local department store.
It's kind of weird.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
But Maggie, thank goodness, said she felt unwell and decided to go take a nap in her bedroom instead, which I believe is on the 3rd floor, so it's a 3-story house. Mm-hmm. So Maggie testified that she was in her 3rd floor room resting after having cleaned the windows when just before 11:10 a.m. she heard Lizzie call from downstairs, "Maggie, come quick, father's dead." Someone came in and killed him.
Lizzie.
Lizzie. Smells like bullshit to me.
Yep, such bullshit.
Andrew was slumped on the couch in a downstairs sitting room and had been struck 10 or 11 times with a hatchet-like weapon, which of course is consistent with Abby's injuries as well, so you can kind of presume it's the same killer. His wounds were actually still bleeding when Maggie found him, suggesting that the attack had been incredibly recent, and one of his eyeballs was, like, split in half.
Oh, that's gross.
Suggesting he had been asleep when attacked.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
But see, okay, so Mom, Abby, dies.
Yes.
And then Dad goes to bed after Abby is dead. Mm-hmm. So if it's not Lizzie, is this killer just hiding out in the house?
Right.
Just hanging out in a closet?
Yeah, because we don't know exactly when she died, but it was like sometime between 9 a.m. and like 10:30. And so the killer would have theoretically had to potentially wait up to like an hour and a half before. I mean, I suppose they could have been hiding in a room. It was like a decent sized house.
Right, but then where would Lizzie have been?
Yeah, well, then she talks about going and hanging out in the barn for a while.
Such
so
bullshit.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Bullshit.
Yeah. She's like,
this
I was in
bullshit.
the barn. Okay, so detectives estimated that Andrew's time of death had occurred, was approximately 11 a.m. So Maggie then, of course, seeing him dead, called for a neighbor to come over, and then they went upstairs, and that's when they found Abby's body. So they launch an investigation, of course, and Lizzie gets interrogated by the police, and she gave very strange and contradicting answers to their questions. So initially she reported hearing a groan or a scraping noise or a distress call before entering the house. So she, like, heard Scary sounds coming from within. It was like, something bad's happening. 2 hours later, she then told the police she heard nothing and entered the house without realizing anything was wrong at all. She told the police that when her father had arrived home from his walk, she removed his boots and helped him into his slippers so he could lie down to take a nap, but the crime scene photos, like, clearly show him wearing his boots while he's dead on the couch.
Good Lord. Are you
I'm like,
stupid?
You're dumb.
If you're trying to lie, make sure it's a credible
You're
lie.
Not doing a very good job. So, yeah, if they can literally prove you wrong with photographic evidence, maybe pick a different story.
Exactly.
So when she was asked about where her stepmother was, of course, she gave them the story about Abby receiving the note to visit her friend. But then she also stated that she thought Abby had returned upstairs, and she asked if someone could go upstairs to look for Abby. So she said, like, yeah, she left to go visit a friend, but then also she asked, I don't know if it was Maggie or a neighbor or someone to go up and look for her upstairs. So she's not making any sense. She's contradicting herself.
Good Lord.
Most of the officers who interviewed her apparently reported that they didn't like her attitude. Some said she was too calm and poised, which I'm going to call bullshit on that because if she is truly innocent, like the way they've started saying that, like, you can't use people's emotional reactions as evidence of their guilt or innocence in cases like that because people could be in shock. Everyone reacts differently. People are processing differently. Like, you can't say that, like, oh, they were too calm. They didn't seem upset.
And
like,
because they're not bawling their eyes out.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe not everyone is going to, like, have a meltdown in the moment. Like, it might come later or never at all. Like, people process emotions differently. Exactly. So I don't necessarily think that makes her guilty, but despite her attitude and changing alibis, no one actually bothered to check her for bloodstains. They didn't actually, like, check to see...
That be, like, a number one thing to do?
Yes. The other thing to do would be to, like, search her room, probably. Yeah. Well, they did that, but they did it super quick and didn't, like, go into any detail at all. And they later, like, literally admitted that they messed up the investigation because they didn't check her room thoroughly. And they didn't check her for any signs of that she had actually committed the murder.
Good Lord. That's, like... Crime Scene 101.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to know why they didn't properly search her room?
Why?
Because she wasn't feeling well.
I don't fucking care if you're not feeling well. It's a goddamn murder. Like, good Lord.
I know. It's... I guess they were trying to be... Yeah, they're trying to be chivalrous. And she's delicate. She's a lady. She's a murderous lady.
Who murdered people.
Yeah. So then they checked the basement. The police found 2 hatchets, 2 axes, and a hatchet head with a broken handle. So the hatchet head itself was suspected of being the murder weapon as the break and the handle appeared fresh. And what's super suspicious is there was some ash and dust on the handle that appeared to have been deliberately applied to make it look as though it had been in the basement for a long time without having been used or touched. So there's like this fresh break on the handle, but then the hatchet head is super dusty. Ooh, that makes sense. God. So they're like, yeah, that's kind of suspicious. However, none of the tools were actually removed from the house to be contained for evidence.
Good Lord.
They just left them there.
So then they can just go and clean them and be done with it.
And then when they come to, like, do the trial, none of them have any of the weapons, and there's no, like, it wasn't cataloged in any way. So it's like, you guys are idiots. What are you doing?
Good Lord.
So because of the mysterious illness that had gotten everyone sick for the days leading up to the murders, they did check the milk and Andrew and Abby's stomachs for poison, but none was found. So her whole theory about them being poisoned was false. Mm-hmm. Unless it was a poison they just didn't know how to detect. So this part is interesting, and I don't really know how this plays into, like, it didn't really come up in the trial as far as I'm aware, but the night after the murders, Lizzie and Emma's friend Alice Russell decided to stay with them overnight at the house. I'm assuming because everyone was just upset. They wanted a friend to come, like, be with them or something. So they had police stationed around the house that night just to, like, make sure no one was up to anything funny. And apparently a police officer reported seeing Lizzie and Alice going into the cellar carrying a kerosene lamp and a slop pail. He said he couldn't exactly see what they were doing, but it looked as though Lizzie was bent over the cellar sink, and then both women exited the cellar together. I wonder what she was doing.
I wonder.
Probably scrubbing bloodstains off of things.
Most likely.
You idiot.
Dumbass.
Come on. He just, like, saw them do it and didn't stop them and be like, hey, what are you doing down in the cellar? What's going on down there?
Should I go investigate?
You dummies.
Dumbass.
An inquest for the murders occurred on August 8th, 4 days after the murders actually happened, so some time has passed, and Lizzie was given morphine to help calm her nerves, which people think possibly affected her testimony because she was apparently super erratic and sometimes refused to even answer some of the questions that would have helped prove her to be innocent had she bothered to answer them. They, like, would have looked good for her if she could have, like, given them any sort of answer.
Yeah.
And she just didn't, and was, like, even weirder during the inquest than she was when they initially interrogated her. So they're like, maybe she was on drugs? I don't know.
Huh.
So she continued to contradict herself throughout the trial and gave throughout the inquest, and gave conflicting accounts of what happened that morning. For example, she said that she was in the kitchen reading a magazine when her father first arrived home from his walk. Then she said she was in the dining room doing some ironing, and then she said she was coming down the stairs.
Good Lord, woman, get your story straight.
She's such a bad liar,
Jesus.
and she's still... Okay, I won't spoil it. Like, she was apparently in 3 different places doing 3 different things at the same time. And everyone's like, scratch my head on this
got
one.
A clone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Their sister, Alice, who died at age 2, got reincarnated as a clone of Lizzie, and she was her accomplice in the murders.
Yep.
Okay. Solved it. You're welcome, world. I've solved the case.
Yep. You're welcome. Police investigators, come on. We solved it for you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thanks.
God, I should become an investigator.
You should.
God, it'd be so fun.
So great.
Okay, so ultimately, she was arrested for the murders on August 11th and went on trial for the murders June 5th of 1893. So almost a whole year later, she finally went on trial, which was a total disaster. And it was a mess from start to finish.
I was gonna say, the whole crime scene was a disaster.
Which is why the trial was a disaster, essentially. So a main point of discussion, of course, was the murder weapon, specifically the hatchet head that had been found in the basement detached from the handle. So it apparently was not convincingly demonstrated to be the murder weapon by the prosecution, partially because they never actually took it out of the house and, like, kept it in evidence, so they didn't have anything to reference during the trial, and partially because the police officers investigating the scene had conflicting accounts of where the handle of the weapon was actually found. So the prosecutors argued that the head of the hatchet was removed because it would have been covered in blood, which is why they found the handle and head separate in the basement. But no one could actually get their story straight on exactly what piece was found or where. One officer said they found the handle close to the hatchet head, but another officer directly contradicted this. So
good.
No one really knew what they found in the basement for sure. No one could really get it straight. Like, officers who were at the scene directly conflicted each other with their testimony.
Did they not take any pictures of it?
I guess not. They took a picture of Andrew in his freaking boots, but not the freaking suspected murder weapon.
I mean, that's kind of important.
Kind of. Yes, a little bit.
God.
A little bit.
Good
and
Lord.
Especially because it was really suspicious because it looked like someone had put a bunch of dust on it on purpose to make it look undisturbed. So, like, that should have been like, wee, little red flag. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Get it together, guys.
So, like I said, no bloody clothing was found at the crime scene, and they didn't really look very hard for it. But Lizzie's friend Alice, who had gone on the little trek to the cellar with her, testified that on August 8th, so 4 days after the murder, she witnessed Lizzie burn a dress in the kitchen stove, and Lizzie claimed that it had been ruined when she accidentally brushed up against wet paint.
Bullshit,
Which is
blood.
Total bullshit. But guess what? The defense never attempted to challenge the statement. They never bothered.
Did they even care about this
I
crime?
guess not. Like, they were like, oh, she's sad and she's a girl, so she's innocent.
But I mean, if the whole town doesn't like them, then maybe they decided that they weren't going to do a proper investigation because, oh, well, they're just dead, so we don't fucking care.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was actually just wondering, too, like, this is total conspiracy lane, but I wonder if, like...
See? I told you!
So it's possible. I mean, if the police totally bungled the investigation on purpose, it's possible they put Lizzie up to the murder and then purposely botched the investigation so they knew she'd get off free. Mm-hmm. And then for whatever reason, Andrew and Abby were taken care of.
Conspiracy.
That's
what I'm saying.
We double solved the case. Solved it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Get it together, guys.
We are just problem solvers.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't... Freaking wet paint excuse is bullshit. You decided to freaking paint your house 4 days after your father and stepmother were brutally murdered in your home.
Why not?
And I'm just gonna do a little bit of redecorating. It's fine.
Just gonna paint a little bit.
And then I'll burn my dress. I feel like if you get a dress with wet paint on it, you either wash it out or throw it away. You don't freaking burn it in your stove. Exactly. What the hell sort of crazy impulse is that? It makes no sense.
She seems a little cuckoo.
Well, that's true.
So,
but they just decided to let that one slide. They didn't challenge that at all.
We're just going to let everything slide.
We'll just accept that. That's cool.
Okay.
So Lizzie's presence at the home and, like, what time she was there and where was also a key point during the trial because Lizzie told several people that after Maggie had gone upstairs and I'm not totally sure. I think it was after Maggie went upstairs to rest because she wasn't feeling well. So she tried to like convince her to go to the department store. She said no, went upstairs. Then Lizzie apparently went out to the barn for 20 minutes to a half hour. And 2 different people actually testified that they saw Lizzie leaving the barn at 11:03 a.m., which would have been a few minutes after her father was murdered. Then again, his time of death was roughly 11. They can't say exactly like to the minute.
Right.
And at 10:11 a.m. is when Lizzie called Maggie back downstairs and told her that Andrew had been murdered and told her to go to a doctor, or go get a doctor. But what's weird about this is that's a 7-minute gap from when she left the barn and when she called Maggie down for help. So what did she do during that 7 minutes? Just like stare at her father's dead body?
She acked him to death.
She acked him. She got him in the head. And it's totally possible that she could have murdered everyone and then gone out to the barn, potentially to hide evidence.
Right.
And then people saw her come back into the house. There was enough of a time gap between when they supposedly, like... So she could have murdered Abby, gone out to the barn, come back in, murdered Andrew, then called for Maggie to come down. Exactly. So that doesn't necessarily prove that she's innocent.
Yep.
So this is disgusting and fascinating to me. So apparently... both Andrew and Abby's heads were removed during the autopsy, and the skulls were admitted as evidence during the trial and presented to the court.
Why? What is that going to do?
The trial. And guess what? Lizzie saw them and fainted. So everyone was like, oh, she must be innocent because she fainted when she saw their skulls. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's really strange.
And it's so graphic. You're going to bring their literally like dismembered heads into the courtroom as evidence.
Like what is that? What purpose does that serve?
I don't know if they wanted to like see what her gut reaction was, and then when she fainted, they were like, "Oh, she must be innocent." And guess what? So the jury goes to deliberate after a half hour.
Oh, bullshit!
They acquitted her.
Oh, good lord!
They only took a half hour. No. I've like heard of murder trial like juries taking like days.
Yeah.
And they're like, after 30 minutes, like, nah, she's probably good.
Decided, oh, no, she's fine.
So she's acquitted, but was still, to this day, remains the prime suspect in the case. So there's a few theories as to what may have happened. So one of them includes Lizzie murdering her family in a fugue state, which, if y'all watch Breaking Bad, that's what happens to Walter White when he, like, wanders out, and he claims that like, wandered out and was like, I was in a fugue state, where you essentially, like... are conscious, but you're not consciously aware of what you're doing, and your brain just kind of goes crazy. Mm-hmm. So she could have possibly just done it and not realized what she was doing. I call bullshit on that one.
Yep.
Especially if she's like laughing maniacally at the top of the stairs.
Exactly.
Another theory is that she'd actually been physically and sexually abused by her father for a long time, which led her to just kind of snap and commit the murders. But that's more of just like motive more than anything.
Right.
That it doesn't really explain what happened. So, I wonder too, like if it wasn't her, who would have had motive to kill both of them? I don't really know. Someone who's pissed off about their many like land dealings going back and forth, I guess. So there's not really any evidence to support either theory, but at the time there would have been really limited evidence anyway, because they didn't know anything about like mental health, really, like fugue states. They wouldn't have been able to prove it was a fugue state, and they probably wouldn't have been able to have any sort of way to detect like any evidence of like sexual abuse.
Right,
so
exactly.
There wasn't really any way to prove them either way.
Huh.
Okay, so present day, the house has been operating as a bed and breakfast since 1996, and it's owned by Martha McGinn, who inherited the house from her grandparents, who purchased it in August of 1948. So there's like a 50-year gap in between the murders and the house being bought. I don't really know what happened, but it's been in her family for a long time. And apparently the room where Abby was found murdered is the most requested room of the available bedrooms at the B&B.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess it's probably the most haunted one, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! Tell me about the hauntings!
Yay!
I'm so excited.
So all of the hauntings. So most of the things that I found were just like guest experiences. And I guess at the actual bed and breakfast, they have notebook.
Yes, I was going to ask, do they have a logbook?
Yeah,
Yay!
Yep. They have a logbook where you can put in all of your experiences and everything. So we're just going to start off with the stories, because that's always fun. Mm-hmm. So I got my sources from countryliving.com, Metro West Daily News, ghost.hauntedhouses.com, and thelineup.com.
We always do this after. I forgot to say mine were Wikipedia and allthat'sinteresting.com. Oh, and I'm Annie.
Oh, hey, I'm Anna.
Okay, 30 minutes in.
It's fine.
That's who we are.
It's fine.
We just like to keep you guessing.
Exactly.
It's cool.
You never know who we are or who's talking.
Yep.
It's fine.
It's a surprise.
It is. So, we'll start off with story 1. There was a man. I didn't get, like, any names because these were all articles of them just stating what their experience was. So,
some guy.
There was a man who stayed at the bed and breakfast to see if he was able to see any ghost during his stay. While he was waiting to get into the room along with a couple other guests that night, the night manager came out to greet them. He told them stories about people seeing cats in the basement and rocking chairs rocking by themselves. He also warned about Mr. Borden's habit of strangling ill-mannered guests.
Oh, okay. That's just your habit?
I just like to... I'm just so angry, I'm gonna strangle you.
When people are rude, I just like to strangle them.
Yeah.
That's so aggressive. Yeah. Calm down, Andrew.
I mean, he was hacked to death, so...
Yeah, but... it's just... Oh, and I just imagine the guy being like, yeah, sometimes there's cats and sometimes there's rocking chairs. And, also watch out for being strangled by Mr. Borden. Okay.
Cool.
That's so absurd.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
He also strongly discouraged guests to play with the Ouija board that is in the house.
Smart.
Right. There was a guest who had stolen it at one point and sent it back via FedEx with a note reading, "Please make it stop."
What?
So...
Wait, so there was one in the house.
There was one in the house. Person stole it. And then it was sent back to them via FedEx. Because, it's a goddamn fucking Ouija board. What do you expect from it?
Demons... attached to that shit. You should know that by now.
Exactly.
You dummy.
Don't be stupid.
That's hilarious.
So don't use the Ouija board if you ever go. So the man stayed in Lizzie's room, which also included Lizzie's sister's room, so they had an adjoining room. Mm-hmm. He didn't experience anything in the room, but when they went down to breakfast, one of the other guests did experience something. She said that she had been woken up by sounds of knuckles cracking beneath a wardrobe, but nothing else was heard at all throughout the night.
Oh, that's a new one.
Right?
Knuckles cracking. I don't think
they're ready for a fight.
Someone's ready to punch you out. That feels like a new one. I don't think we've heard descriptions of that before.
No. Oh. Or just popping,
get ready.
That'd be creepy.
Bones are crackling.
Bones are cracking. So then there was a woman. This is a different story. A woman stayed in the bed and breakfast with a couple of her friends. When they first arrived, they were taken on a 2-hour tour of the house. So they literally went to every single room, got told stories, went in the basement. And the first stop was a John V. Morse room. So I'm assuming
that's the uncle.
Okay, but I'm assuming that's probably Andrew's room.
The night before the murders, John had come to visit, and he stayed in a guest room, I think.
Oh,
so that's probably the room that he stayed in.
Maybe because this room came up a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's weird. He wasn't murdered. He was fine. He just stayed there the night before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I would guess it's the guest room that he stayed in. Or maybe they just took one of the other rooms that belonged to someone else and just named it after him. I'm not.
It could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I think that was Andrew's room. Because it's also known as the murder room.
Oh, so it's possible that was the guest room that he stayed in, but Abby was murdered there?
That could be. Or it was actually Abby's room. Yeah. And they just named it that.
Huh. That's confusing.
I don't know.
Get it straight, people.
So it's known as a murder room, and also where this lady and her friends were staying that night. The guy passed around a binder of laminated photos that guests have taken while staying in the room, and there was one taken by a woman staying in the murder room. This is a different woman. Mm-hmm. In the middle of the night, she saw something on her partner's side of the room and decided that she needed to snap a picture. And in the picture is a white shadowy mass on his side and where Abby was found dead.
No.
Yep.
She freaking wearing white like every other ghost in the whole world. Uh-huh. If they're not wearing white, they're wearing black.
Exactly.
It's either or.
White or black. That's all you get.
No colors in the afterlife.
Nope. So then the lady staying in this room, she heard some beeping coming from the other, a separate room, and she went out to investigate. She ran into another guest who was using a ghost detector app on her phone, and it was beeping.
Oh my god. Yes, I want one.
And the app would calm down when they walked away from her room, but then would get louder and faster as they entered the John Moore's room. Mm. And it got even faster when they got up to the spot where the body was found.
Yeah. I want to know how those ghost detector apps work. Because, I feel like we understand, temperature changes. We understand change in magnetic fields. We understand some of the other ways that, paranormal activity is detected. But, how does your phone do it?
Machines that they use are specific to detecting ghosts. Not just, oh, let's see what we can figure out.
Phones, as far as I'm aware, don't detect, temperature changes or magnetic field changes.
No.
Maybe.
That's why I don't really trust. Aside from maybe like an EVP app where you can record something.
Yeah.
But not like actually ghost detecting.
I'm gonna just see what they have available. Ultimate ghost detector, real EMF, EVP recorder. Sweet. It's just called Ghost.
Ghost. Oh man.
Ghost. It's $250. Ugh.
Yeah.
You guys suck.
Ghost detector radar.
Oh, it's a simulator.
Oh, that's dumb.
Okay, I will research this and make some recommendations.
We will give you the proper app to use for ghost hunting.
Okay.
So then, that same night, the fire alarm went off around 3 a.m. with no explanation as to why, and there was no fire in the house. So when they all went down for breakfast, they were talking about the fire alarm going off, and the employee who was making breakfast for them informed them that this happens every couple of months and always around the same time at night.
Always at 3 in the morning?
Always at 3 in the morning.
That's
everything
like the witching
always
hour.
Yeah, exactly, between 3 and 4.
I don't like that.
I don't either.
I don't like it.
That's why I don't like waking up at 3 or 4 o'clock.
I hate it.
Because I think that people are just going to come and attack, and it's going to be terrible.
That's when I always used to wake up, like, in high school when I had that, like, year where every single night I would wake up and just be, like, scared shitless for no reason. It was always sometime around, like, 2:33 in the morning.
Yep.
Demons.
It's terrible. They're all coming at you.
Either that or hormones were messing with my sleep cycle. But I like to think that it was demons.
Demons.
Definitely demons.
Always demons.
Always and forever.
So then another story, there was another man that stayed in the bed and breakfast.
So many men and women.
And he also stayed in the John Morse room. He too was given the 2-hour tour of the house before they all settled into bed. So during the tour guide told a story that Mrs. Borden likes to rip the covers off of people while they sleep. They also say that objects in the home get moved from room to room. And the previous tenant of the house, who was a distant relative named Eliza Darling Borden, killed 2 of her 3 children by dropping them down a well in the back of the property and then took her own life.
No! What?
Mm-hmm.
At that house?
Mm-hmm.
How
supposedly
was that not, like, listed anywhere in the history that I looked up? There was no mention of that freak. Oh my god!
And I mean, this is coming from a tour guide, so it could be just, like, stories passed down and not actually happened.
And I guess I was mostly focusing on, like, the Lizzie Borden case, so maybe it just never came up because it was unrelated, but holy shit.
Yeah, it's a little intense.
That's so awful.
I know.
Poor baby.
Poor little baby just getting thrown down a well.
Just like Samora from The Ring.
So then visitors often claimed hearing ghosts of the children playing and laughing on the top floor of the house. So then once he was settled in and the tour was done, he started to feel a gloom set in and feelings of uneasiness. And he tried to fall asleep, but did not want to fall asleep because he felt that he may deal with intense paranormal activity and wasn't mentally or physically prepared to handle it. So he fled in the middle of the night to go stay at a friend's house.
Oh my god, he's just like, I don't want to go to bed. Yep. I'm going to wake up and there's going to be something there. And then, I don't want to deal with it.
Exactly. And then he went back in the morning for breakfast.
Oh my god.
Because he paid money for it, so he's going to get free breakfast.
Well, damn it, I would too. Give me some bacon and eggs after that. That's hilarious. He just leaves.
He's done.
Nope, not doing it.
Exactly. A couple other things that people have experienced in the house. A lot of it comes from staff workers. So a staff worker discovered the indentation of a body on Abby's bed and also hears cries that can be heard from this room as well. There's an apparition of a woman that looks like Lizzie that has been seen in the basement, which makes sense because that's where the axes were.
That's where she freaking put the murder weapon that they didn't collect for evidence and didn't take any pictures of and didn't record where it was located and didn't bother bringing to the trial. Can you tell I'm mad at them?
Tell me about it.
They're just so dumb. They're so dumb. But yes, that would make sense. She'd probably get rid of some evidence down there.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Cold spots can often be found around the house, as well as apparitions of a woman dressed in maid's clothes. So it's probably Maggie hanging around.
What up, Maggie?
Disembodied cat meows can be heard around the house.
What's the deal with the cats?
The cats is because there was a cat found in the basement that was mutilated with its head cut off.
Oh, God.
I can't remember who it was that did it. I want to say it was Maggie.
What the fuck? The maid?
Maybe.
With mutilating cats in the basement?
Could be wrong.
Maggie.
I just forgot to write down the name.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't write about that at all.
Yeah.
Shit.
So.
That's unfortunate.
Poor baby.
Even the cat ghosts.
I know.
Aww. Further proof that animals have spirits too.
They do.
Be kind to them.
Yeah.
Come
Don't
haunt
be
you.
assholes.
Yeah.
Kick your ass. Lights are known to turn on and off by themselves. When no one is up on the top floors, so the second and third floor, staff can hear doors opening and closing, followed by footsteps.
Of course. So much.
Shadowy figures have been seen in the staircase going down to the main hallway. Feelings of being touched on the staircase have also been reported. Disembodied voices have been heard all around the house. The owner of the house felt a cold touch of a finger run down her back, and when she turned around, no one was behind her.
Sorry.
Almost.
I was going to be so excited if we said it in unison, and then they ruined it.
We almost
I'm
did.
so sorry.
It's okay.
I tried.
It's okay.
I tried.
People have also seen misty figures and masses in the living room where Andrew was murdered. So now the house, they offer day tours that typically last an hour. Otherwise, you can do a nighttime tour, which gives you more access to the house and a longer tour time.
Sweet. Love me some long tour times.
Yeah.
All the tour times.
Such tour times. We should go get a tour.
Let's get a tour at the house and get a long tour times. Why is that so fun to say?
Know. Tour times.
To get some tour times.
So we should go Massachusetts.
Yeah, we should.
We should go to Salem.
Yep.
And then we need to go stay at the Lizzie Borden house.
Yep. And then we'll just hop real quick across the entire country to California.
Yep.
And go to all the places in California. And then we'll circle
Square
back
across.
And the greatest part is, though, is we covered so many places in Minnesota, we'll just circle back to home territory.
There we go.
Do a little quick run before we go back home.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
We can do all that.
Sweet.
One summer.
We need to find some haunted places in, like, Texas or something. Yeah. Just get all four corners of
There we go.
Yeah.
We should do one in every state.
Challenge accepted.
Here we go.
Yes.
Time to print off a map and see where we've been.
Montana, you better get some scary shit because I feel like there's just nothing going on there.
Haunted mountains.
I mean, no offense. I love Montana. It's beautiful. But I just feel like there's not a whole lot going on.
Or Idaho.
Yeah, that too. They're just some like barren corners of the country.
Yeah, a little bit.
But maybe that's like prime serial killer territory, maybe.
Probably
I don't know.
is.
Maybe there's some haunted stuff going on.
All
and I guess
of it.
like abandoned farmhouses, like country living, I feel like lends itself well to scary stories.
Absolutely.
There was always, on the way home from Decorah, whenever we were driving back from college, there was always this, like, not quite dilapidated, but kind of run down, like, farmhouse that was painted white, but all the white paint was, like, chipping. And, it like, I don't know if anyone was still, like, living it or using it as a structure for something, but it was just kind of, like, old and decrepit with, like, chipped white paint and the dark windows and everything. And every single time we drove by there, I was like, this makes
so
me
uncomfortable.
Something about chipped white paint makes me real uncomfortable.
Ooh, we should go down there. We should check it out.
Yeah, let's go.
Late at night.
Probably trespass.
Yeah.
Get pointed a shotgun at
It's
her
fine.
face and get told to get off their property.
It's fine. All right. Friends. You know the drill.
Send in your stories.
NightmareNation19@gmail.com, please.
We want to hear... Please and thank you. We're polite, at least. Nothing
Today.
else. We want to hear... Yeah, wait till you see us next time. We'll be super rude.
So pissed.
We want to hear about anything paranormal or scary or unexplained that has happened to you or someone you know. We loved hearing these stories firsthand, and we would love to feature them on the podcast.
The podcast.
NightmareNation19@gmail.com.
Or check us out on the Facebook at Nightmare_Nation19. Or the Instagram at nightmare.nation19.
All the social media places.
Everything.
Make sure you let us know if there's any places you'd like to hear covered on the podcast, because we love user suggestions.
Heck yeah.
We have fun doing them, and then we know we're talking about stuff that you actually want to hear about.
Exactly. It's perfect.
It's great.
I love it.
It's my favorite thing in this whole freaking
So
world.
good. Oh. All right, friends. Till next time.
Till next time.
Don't use a Ouija board.
Don't get possessed by demons.
Don't do seances.
Don't murder your family with an axe.
And just be kind.
Be kind to each other. We could all use a little kindness in the world right
Yes.
now. Let's all just remember we're all humans trying to get through this crazy thing called life.
Yes.
Love each other.
Love each other.
And love all things paranormal, especially our podcast.
Love Nightmare Nation.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.